Have you ever had a seller that wanted to buy a home but had a home to sell and didn't know how to do the timing? Well, if you have ever found yourself in that position and want to use that common occurrence as a way to create more solutions and provide more value to your clients, get more deals done, and have raving fans, this is the episode you don't want to miss.
Welcome to the HyperFast Agent Growth Show. Get real strategies, real results, and real estate them differently. Lead generation, team building, AI, and more from billion-dollar agents, best-selling authors, international speakers, and real estate coaches, Keri Shull and Lesniak. Let's dive in!
Hey guys, welcome back to the HyperFast Agent Growth Show. I'm Dan Lesniak here with Keri Shull, and this is one of Keri's favorite topics. So I'm excited about this show and what Keri is specifically going to teach you on how to get more deals done by offering creative solutions to move up buyers.
Yeah. And it's not just move up buyers. It's all listings. I want to help you win, whether you're competing or whether you're trying to provide solutions. So it's both, right? Guarantees are helpful with that. I think Dan has done an excellent job. We have everyone doesn't want to do guaranteed sales because they're worried that they're going to have to buy a home, right? And today we're going to teach you that there's lots of ways to structure your guarantee so you don't end up in that situation. But people always ask us, did you ever have to buy a home? So before I go into the structure and strategy of how you position guarantees, we're going to get the horror story out of the way. Yes. Yes, we did have to buy a home. And if you go on our YouTube channel today, the Keri Shull Team YouTube channel, you can still see the client telling that story. And I bring that up. Dan's going to share the details of the story, but we just got a listing appointment. That was how many years ago that we did that guarantee?
13.
13 years ago. We just got another listing about a week ago, a large luxury property, because they watched that video and they said, wow, if you guys offer a guarantee, I'm interested. Okay. So I'm going to let Dan share the story and then I'm going to break down tactically how you design a guarantee.
Yeah, so we had a client we met at an open house and they wanted to buy a new construction home. It was the one that they eventually found. Um, the builder already bought the lot and was kind of building as a spec, but if you got in early, you could customize it. So they did that. The problem is when you start customizing and you haven't had permits fully approved yet, you're looking at like a 12-month process, maybe longer in some cases. It was probably 12 months back then. Now uh, things have gotten slower in many counties with permits, so it could be 18 months, could be 2 years, and they were in a hard position because they had a really nice high-end condo. Super hard to predict what the market would be like from a year from now, but they needed to sell that in order to buy, but you can't sign a builder contract with a contingency on that of selling it 12 months later. So we proposed a guaranteed sale where if we didn't meet a certain price that we agreed upon, we would come in and buy the house. And at first you might think, oh my gosh, that's so scary. But well, a couple of things. The price you agree is usually not going to be your listing price, right? You're going to create some buffer there.
Mhm.
And then you also have to realize you're working with three different commissions. You have the buy side of the new home they're buying, and you have the list side of the home they're selling. And then if you're buying it, you've got the buy side commission there. So, you roll all those together and you can come up with most of the down payment and closing costs in many cases. Maybe not all, but it depends on the price point, lender, all that stuff. So lo and behold, time went on, their house was coming along great. We went ahead, put their condo on the market, and was not a really great time of the year. And for the super high end condo, we're talking like over $1 million for a 2-bedroom condo. And that it was getting a couple weeks away from closing, and we had to step in and buy it. And in that case, we ended up living there
Yeah, we did.
for a little over a year before our house was built, and loved living there. It was a really fun time.
Yeah. So I think the takeaway from that is you may be thinking, oh my gosh, that's horrible. I never want to end up in that situation. Well, here's the result. We ended up living in a place that was fantastic that we would have never wanted to afford on our own, right? It was, I think the condo fee was like $1,600 a month, right? It was so high. It was crazy. Um, but because of that, we had an amazing relationship. Like when we actually said, "Hey, we're going to buy it." We all went to Bourbon Steakhouse. We celebrated. We closed on it. We followed through on our commitment, right? And we had to do that. Today, depending on your brokerage, I'm sure you guys have different options. At EXP, we can go in, we can put the address. Instantly, we have 5 different ways that a property can be purchased by EXP through their partnerships, right? So we no longer have to guarantee the sale ourselves. We're able to structure it so that we have someone there behind the scenes that is willing to take it down if they need to. So always think about your options and don't discount the partners that you have that make your process better. Okay. So,
Well, and then, we should fast forward. We ended up renting that property out when we moved out, then later sold it. So then, all of that commission that was rolled in, did come to us then, but then fast forward 10 years later when they wanted to, move to another area and have an even bigger house, we ended up getting a $5 million buy side and a $3 million sale, right? So it builds really great long-term relationships, really great for marketing too. Keri just
yeah.
mentioned this new listing coming in from something that happened 13 years ago.
And they said they watched the YouTube video. So don't forget, if you ever have to do a guarantee, film the story. You can watch how we did that again on our YouTube channel. So now let's talk about different applications for structuring the guarantee. In that particular guarantee, you charge them 7% on the listing, right?
Yeah, so you typically will charge a premium because you're offering them an insurance policy basically.
Yeah, and you'll hear the client sharing. It was an insurance policy. It made me feel comfortable. Like we couldn't predict what was going to happen. And they saw the hard work that we put in. So, of course, they were disappointed that it didn't sell, but they also recognized we were really a savior. And that's why we've continued to have their loyalty over the years. And they've been a reference for other clients that have wondered, like, will they follow through on the guarantee if I need it? Right. So that's huge. So, when we're talking about the traditional guarantee that you do, you want to consider, people always say to me like what's a one size fits all. Well, there's not. The whole point of a guarantee is to listen closely to your client's needs in that listing appointment, in that move up buyer appointment, what, or even a downsizer. What are they saying that is causing the most trepidation and stress for them? And typically it falls into a couple categories, right? It's going to be the sales price, the commission that's causing them problems, or the timeline. Okay. And sometimes when you're thinking about the price, there's also carrying costs. Carrying costs can really freak people out if there's the idea of owning 2 homes. So usually we're going to listen for that client's hot buttons. Another hot button that we've been designing a lot of guarantees around recently is an out of town seller. They want to know that someone's going to go by the house. They're going to check to make sure the doors are locked. They're going to make sure that there's no leaks or no problems. If it's the dead of winter, they have additional concerns. If it's the middle of summer, they have additional concerns, right? So just making sure that you structure in how you're going to care for the property and what your communication system will look like. That's different than what other agents are doing. But let's imagine for a minute you're really afraid of a guarantee. Let's talk about some ways you can structure a guarantee with the hot buttons of your client and providing a little more security than that you're going to have to buy a house. Let's imagine your broker doesn't have a program where they'll buy it. You don't have to do a guarantee while you buy it. You can do a guarantee where you say your home sold in 7 days or I'll pay you $25,000. Or your home sold in 30 days or I'll sell it for free. Or you could do a guarantee where it's your home sold in 14 days. I'm using all different days, but ultimately you would go and you would study what's the average number of days that it's taking to sell. And depending on your client's situation and how much the time is of essence for them, you're going to design your guarantee with the price and the timeline in mind of what's average. So if the average price point in a neighborhood is 800,000 and the average days on market is 30, but your client needs to sell in 7, it's just a matter of listing at the right price to accomplish the 7 days, and statistics will show you what that is. So from my perspective, no matter how fast someone wants to sell and no matter what price they want to sell for, We always have to go back to the data and let the data drive the decision about what the actual guarantee is. And if the client is wanting 900,000 for their home and the comps are indicating 800,000, I may structure a guarantee and tell them why, but tell them if you're really committed to listing at 900,000 and you want to test that, how many days would it take before you would say, you know what, we need to make an adjustment? And I would just map that out and I wouldn't offer the guarantee until the adjustment is made, right? So the guarantee can become a really excellent way of getting them to price correctly, okay? Or getting a built-in price reduction. Then here's the other piece of it. Let's imagine that you're competing with an agent that tells the client they'll do it for 1%. We've all been there, right?
Mm.
And so if a client is, or if the seller is saying, yes, but this other agent will do it for 1%, it's really easy to create a structured guarantee where your results impact your commission. So we may say if we believe the property is worth 800 and an excellent job would be between 800 and 825, then at that range, we get a 3.5% commission. Or maybe it's 825 to 815, we get 3.5. And then 815 to 800, we get 3. And then 800 to 750. You have to look at the data to decide how you comp it out. But clients love that because if they're hiring an agent that's a 1% agent, that agent is incapable of negotiating. Do they really want to hire somebody who's incapable of negotiating to sell their house? Or would they rather have a guarantee that has alignment and someone who's capable of negotiating full commission, more commission? There's no exact number with commission, but a higher commission rate because they're also going to deliver a better result and they can negotiate that with the seller. The seller loves it, right?
Yeah. And, like, I think one of the big points here is that Keri's making is you really have to ask questions, understand what their concerns are, understand what their challenges are, and then come up with creative solutions. Guarantees, I know they may sound risky, but if you really are providing a good solution and you know the statistics and you're not driven by fear, like many of the sellers might be, you'll be able to come up with something that solves that fear issue for them and probably really isn't that risky. And there's other types of solutions too. I'm going to get my phone real quick here just because I want to talk about the bridge loan solution, right? Because a lot of times for move up buyers, uh, this may be something that works. And we work with a lender right now that has an amazing product. I think they're one of only two lenders in the country that offer this. It's a cross collateralized bridge loan, one time closing. They don't have to do like the whole refi or this or that. They have tons of time to sell their home after buying. So if you haven't heard about this, you got to connect with our man Carl Svensson. You can text him at 804-665-4344. That's 804-665-4344. That's Carl. You can just text him the word bridge, actually. You've probably seen him on some of the other episodes on this podcast if you watch the whole series. So don't forget about the bridge loan product that Carl offers. And just listen to the sellers, ask good questions. When they answer those questions, keep digging and ask more, and just get creative and find solutions.
And also, I have something harsh to say. Don't be a wuss. So sometimes when I'm training new agents on this, they're like, okay, I think the property is worth 800. I'm going to offer a guarantee at 750. I'm like, what? The seller is going to be like, you suck. Like, if you don't really look at it and challenge yourself to offer a fair results-driven strategy and guarantee, you're actually going to do harm by offering the guarantee. So what I've always thought is, okay, if I'm offering to do it up to 100% of the commission, and I really look closely at where I think it's going to wash out, most of the time that's going to just help me earn more money because more sellers are going to feel confident and say yes. And I did have a situation this year where I was helping one of our agents structure a guarantee and we ended up getting 1% commission. But guess how many times we ended up getting 3.5 because we did the same thing. So just focus on how do I get in a flow where I'm consistently helping sellers feel confident that we're on the same team. That is what a guarantee does.
Well, and if you want to learn from people like Keri Shull, people like John Cheplack, one of the greatest team leader real estate coaches, tons of other top real estate agent team leaders, producers, leaders in the AI industry. We are going to give you that opportunity on May 6th in Chantilly, Virginia, at the HyperFast Agent Growth Summit. If you get the VIP ticket, which you should, you actually get 2 days. The second day is a complete full mastermind in our office where we dive deep into your business and give you the plan to execute all of the recruiting, marketing, and AI strategies that you're going to learn on day one. All you need to do is go to hfasummit2026.com and get your ticket, get VIP if you really want to go all in, and we will see you on May 6th and 7th.
Yay! Okay, well, we'll see you guys soon, and don't forget to leverage those listing guarantees.
You've been listening to HyperFast Agent Growth Show with Keri Shull and Lesniak. Real strategies, real results, real estate done differently. If you love this episode, tap subscribe and share with another agent who's ready to grow.